Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Doghouse. The Battle of the Sexes just got bloody.
Directed by Jake West, starring Danny Dyer, Noel Clarke, and Stephen Graham. This movie's about a group of friends who decide to take their friend on a vacation who's in the middle of a divorce. He's just super depressed and they just want to do something for him. So almost in a bachelor party kind of way, the boys get together, they leave their spouses behind, and they go to a small town so they can just hang out with other women and drink a bunch of beers. Upon arrival, the town is desolate, and the first people that they start to see are women who have gone rabid and they are out to kill. This is actually a recommendation from Twisted Duality over on Patreon, who last recommended Dog Soldiers, and now he's recommending Doghouse because he knows that I would get them all confused in my head. And he's like, well, guess what? I'm gonna recommend both of them. So you figure it out. And here we are, figuring it out. So what do we like?
I absolutely loved the concept of this film because the film plays off of the subtleties and the punny humor that they need to escape from the doghouse.
What I like about this movie is it's just action-packed and it's just like a fun time from beginning to end. It is probably the one movie that I think would make the best video game. There are so many different situations where, you know, there's different squads of people splitting up to take down these rabid women, like from a toy store to a women's clothing store to getting a ladder and crossing certain gaps. Like there's a lot that can be made into a video game, and I think it should have been.
And like, it's cool because they utilize the small town and try and make different weapons that they could use against the women because they're not armed.
Let's party.
But what makes it even more interesting is the fact that our women have the most threatening weapons. We've got the one girl with the sword, the barber with the scissors, the butcher with the cleaver, and the bride with the axe. So they're at a great disadvantage right now. And I think that's what makes it fun is you just want to root for them to like get out of here and figure out how they're going to get out of here because there's no way we could go up against rabid, weapon-wielding women.
They're ferocious. They are trying to just massacre. If you've seen the town, there's no other guys because they've done their job successfully. This would be a terrible place for a bachelor party or just a boys' weekend. And have you seen these demons?
We have a great variety of women. Everyone has a unique look to them. The makeup is great, the effects are great. They just nailed it.
Jesus, this just gets better and better, doesn't it?
There's actually some really great gore effects. One that we both really enjoyed was the head split. But like I said, this movie is very action-packed, so these little gore gags happen more frequently than in most movies that you'd see. And they all look pretty spot on.
We're not just dealing with a few insane women anymore. What you boys have actually created here is an army of pissed off, man-hating, feminists, cannibals.
And they do a really good job balancing out the action and the gore with the humor.
And with that, the acting is excellent. Everybody does a great job. And it's really great to see Stephen Graham in this movie because something that I don't really talk about are non-horror movies, and I'm a huge fan of Snatch. It's actually in my top 10 movies of all time of non-horror. And he does a great job because he's reluctant to do things, he's reluctant to try things out, but at the end of the day, he just needs to do it.
And my personal favorite in this film is Danny Dyer. And I think he's pretty typecasted because he plays like a similar character in Severance, which is another great British film that I hope one day we will review on this channel. His character is the comic relief. He's the D-bag. But what's great about his character is it shows the transition of his realization.
What's your name, babe?
I can tell you now it's not babe.
He's a likable guy.
You want the turn, the heel turn, but like the opposite of a heel turn.
Face turn.
Face turn.
Women love me.
The setting is also really cool because every little part of it has its own personality, much like the demons themselves. It almost has like a homey feel, even though you're like, it's a vacation spot. Well, I wouldn't go on vacation there. You know what I mean? It just feels like a little wholesome place where everyone gets along. Everybody knows your name even, maybe. However, if they know your address, you're fucked.
Now, I do appreciate that these guys decided to make fun of the situation and point out which of these women were the best looking. So Jay, who was your number one?
I mean, I haven't needed a haircut in quite a while, but damn, Edward Scissorhands girl, I think Barbara Babe is my number one. I liked aspects of the Burning Witch, but I think I'll stick with Aaron Scissorhands.
Well, that's a rookie mistake because the best was the wild partying three babes.
Yeah, oh, so the babes that I'm forced to blur a bunch of boobs out right now? Thanks, John.
Yep, but they're the best.
They are the best. And even Neil was like, should I stay? And I'm gonna be honest, like, most of the women in this movie are very, very fit. So if you were comparing, like, best zombie girls, like top 10 lists, Watch Mojo wouldn't do that shit. But if we ever do it, some of the ladies in this film would definitely make that list, assuming that I can clarify that they may or may not be zombies, because I don't think they had died yet. I don't really know. The rules change on a per film basis.
I really like the one with the axe.
She's married. I can't believe I'm hearing this.
Now, what didn't we like?
Even though this film was very entertaining in both the action and the comedy, I did find that it lacked in a little bit of pacing near the climax. And I think it's because this film started off with such a bang that it only went up, that by the time it peaked, it was just like, all right, well, where are they gonna go next?
They could have really improved the pacing, especially like closer to the third act, by killing some of the major players, either the guys or the girls, or both. And then you kind of know that neither team is safe. But at a certain point, you realize, well, the girls aren't dying, these guys are incompetent. And they had such a big cast, even if they didn't have like a big role like the butcher or the dentist, have just a random girl come in and allow them to accidentally kill somebody. And even touching back on like the undertone of this film where the guys need to kind of overcome the women, I think that's just a weird plot anyway. It basically vilifies all women. It did make it seem like they were supposed to defeat the women to move on. It just seems strange to have these guys trying to take on women, which is actually counter to the surrounding story.
I also felt that this film lacked in its ending. I wasn't a big fan of how the film actually ended because they just dragged on with it and then they added one more gag that I felt didn't need to be in there.
Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. Doghouse is an absolute blast. There's something about the dry British humor and the action that works so well. It definitely has a Shaun of the Dead vibe to it. It's just action-packed. It's fun, it's funny, it's super lightweight, and it's just guys versus girls in a battle of the sexes. And unfortunately, one has definitely an advantage, and they are armed, and they are demon-like, and apparently they have multiple phases of brutality. The gore's awesome, the setting's awesome, and the production value is just great in general. There are some like story issues and pacing issues, however, this is a great film, and I think a lot of you should check it out if you haven't already. So I'm gonna give this 4 Men in Black cricket references out of 5.
Seeing this film again, I realized that it actually still holds up. I loved all the action, I loved all the characters, I loved the gore, and I loved the humor. This is one of those films that I think anyone could really watch and have fun with it. People who like action, people who like horror, and people who like comedy can really sit down and appreciate what they're watching. I really recommend checking this film out, even though it does have a few story issues and pacing issues. They don't take you out of the film, it's just they try to do too much, which can be a bad thing. But it's still a great time, so with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 4 5-star frog splashes out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. And if you want the opportunity to recommend a movie for us to review, definitely check out Patreon. Links are in the description. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.